The people of Israel were slaves in Egypt. Day after day, under the burning sun, their backs bent low. The crack of the whip cut the air. Egyptian overseers shouted, "Work, more bricks." No delay. The sound of heavy stones slamming into place filled the air, mixed with groans, mixed with tears. Men stumbled under their loads. Women carried clay with weary arms. Even children knew the weight of slavery before they knew the joy of freedom. Egypt was strong. Pharaoh was ruthless. And hope seemed like dust, trampled beneath Egyptian sandals. But while the people cried, God listened. He had not forgotten them. Far from Egypt, in a desert wilderness, there lived a man who thought his story was over. Moses. Once he had walked the halls of Pharaoh's palace, a prince dressed in gold. But he had fled in shame, fearing Pharaoh's wrath, and now he was nothing more than a shepherd. Watching sheep on the slopes of Mount Horeb, his staff tapped against the rocks, his sandals stirred the dust, his thoughts lost in the silence of exile. And then he saw a bush burning. Fire danced across its branches, fierce and bright, but the bush was not consumed. Moses narrowed his eyes, blinked, stepped closer. Flames roared, but no ash fell, no smoke rose. And then his name, a voice deep and shaking the ground. Moses, Moses. His heart leaped to his throat. He whispered, "Here I am." The voice thundered again, "Do not come closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Trembling, Moses bent down, pulled the sandals from his feet, stood barefoot before the fire. And the voice said, "I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." Moses covered his face with his hands. He dared not look. And then came the words that changed everything. "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries. I know their suffering. I have come down to rescue them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh. You will bring my people out of Egypt." Can you hear Moses' breath catching? He stammered. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out?" But God answered, "I will be with you." Still Moses hesitated, panic rising. "What if they do not believe me? What if they do not listen?" God said. "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," Moses replied. "Throw it to the ground," God commanded. Moses threw it, and the staff writhed, twisting, hissing a snake. Moses leapt back in terror. "Reach out your hand and take it by the tail." His hand trembled, but he obeyed, and the snake became a staff once more. Then God commanded him to place his hand inside his cloak. When Moses pulled it out, it was white with disease, leprous. "Now put it back," said the Lord. He did, and his hand was restored, flesh whole again. Proof upon proof, sign upon sign. But still Moses protested, "Lord, I am not a man of words. I am slow of speech, slow of tongue." The fire burned brighter, and the voice roared, "Who gave man his mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be with your mouth, and teach you what to say." Yet Moses, weak in fear, pleaded, "Please, send someone else." The anger of God flashed, but he said, "Your brother Aaron will speak for you. I will be with both your mouths. Go." So Moses returned to Egypt, his staff in his hand, Aaron at his side. Into the golden palace they went, past the towering statues, past the guards with spears gleaming in the torchlight. Before Pharaoh himself, the ruler of the world, Moses raised his voice. "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." Pharaoh's lips curled into a sneer, his voice was cold. "Is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Instead of freedom, Pharaoh struck harder. He barked, "No more straw for the Hebrews. Let them gather their own. But they must make the same number of bricks." And the whip cracked louder. The people groaned more bitterly than before. He turned on Moses, shouting, "You have made us hateful to Pharaoh. You have given him a sword to kill us." Moses cried to God, "Why have you sent me? Since I spoke to Pharaoh, things have only grown worse." And God answered, "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. With a mighty hand he will let you go. With a mighty hand he will drive you out." And the battle began. Not Moses against Pharaoh, but the God of heaven against the gods of Egypt. Moses struck the Nile with his staff, and the river that gave Egypt life turned to blood. Fish floated belly up, dead. The water reeked with stench. Egyptians dug along the banks for drinkable water, but Pharaoh's heart was stone. Then frogs came, croaking, leaping, covering the land. They filled kitchens, ovens, beds. Pharaoh begged, "Pray to your God to take them away, and I will let your people go." Moses prayed. The frogs died, piled in heaps across the land, and the land stank. Pharaoh's heart hardened again. Then gnats rose from the dust, swarming men and beasts. The magicians of Egypt gasped, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh would not yield. Then swarms of flies poured into the houses of Egypt, blackening the skies. But in the land of Goshen, where Israel lived, not a single fly buzzed. Pharaoh bargained, "Sacrifice to your God here in Egypt." Moses replied, "No. We must go 3 days into the wilderness." Pharaoh said, "Go, but do not go far. Pray for me." The flies vanished, but Pharaoh's heart turned hard again. Then disease struck the livestock of Egypt. Horses, camels, cattle, sheep collapsed and died. Yet not one animal of Israel fell. Still Pharaoh refused. Then painful boils broke out on man and beast. Egyptians groaned in agony, their skin blistered, their flesh burning. Even the magicians could not stand before Moses, their bodies covered in sores. But Pharaoh's heart was like iron. Then hail crashed down from the skies, thunder rolling, lightning flashing. Fire ran along the ground, hailstones shattered trees, stripped the fields bare, killed man and beasts left outside. Pharaoh cried out, "I have sinned. Pray to the Lord, for I cannot endure this thunder and hail." Moses lifted his hands. The storm ceased. Pharaoh hardened his heart once more. Then came locusts, swarming like a living tide, devouring every green thing that remained. They darkened the land, filled every house, devoured every crop. Pharaoh pleaded again, "Forgive my sin once more and pray for me." Moses prayed. A strong wind swept the locusts into the sea, and Pharaoh turned hard again. Then came darkness. Thick, heavy, smothering darkness that could be felt. For 3 days no one moved. No one saw another. Yet in the homes of Israel there was light. Plague after plague, strike after strike, Egypt reeled, and yet Pharaoh's heart would not bend. At last God said to Moses, "I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that he will let you go. About midnight I will pass through Egypt, and every firstborn shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh on the throne to the firstborn of the slave girl, even the firstborn of the cattle. There shall be a cry in Egypt such as has never been heard before, and never will be again. But among the Israelites, not even a dog shall bark. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel." God gave his people instructions. Each household was to take a lamb, pure and without blemish. At twilight they were to slaughter it. They were to take its blood and paint it on the doorposts and lintels of their houses. They were to roast the lamb, eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They were to eat in haste, sandals on their feet, staffs in their hands, ready to leave. For that night the Lord would pass through Egypt, and when he saw the blood on the door, he would pass over that house. But where there was no blood, judgment would fall. Can you imagine the silence in the land that night? Families gathered inside, whispering prayers, painting blood with trembling hands. The smell of roasted lamb filled the air, bitter herbs on the tongue, unleavened bread baked quickly. Children clutched their mothers, fathers gripped their staffs. Outside, the streets were still, waiting. Hearts pounded. Midnight was coming.